All right, Unit 11. Perform the indicated operation and combine like terms. Okay, I've been saying this, and I've been saying this since the beginning of time. Gentlemen, I need you listening. That kids treat this as a double or triple distribution. Is that what this problem is?
No.
No. Do you see this big addition sign? Okay, kids will say, well, I distribute the plus sign and then it becomes multiplication. No, that's not how it works. When you distribute anything that needs to be distributed, what happens with the parentheses? You drop them. They're gone. They go away. Is there anything to distribute here? No. Even if you distribute a plus sign, does it change anything? No. So you have 5x squared plus 3x minus 7 plus 2x squared minus 8. And then what kind of problem is it? Combine like terms. So 5x squared combines with?
2x squared.
Does 3x have a like term?
No.
Nope, so it's just going to stay 3x. And negative 7 combines with negative 8. And I'm not going to finish that. You can finish it on negative. You can finish it on your own. His question was here, is this negative 15 when you add them? Yes. All right, next one. Similar type of problem, but on this one, what is it that we have to distribute?
Negative.
The negative. So that gives me 5x squared plus 3x minus 7, no more parentheses, minus 2x squared plus 8. Good job, with no more parentheses. What is 5x squared's like term? Negative 2x squared. Good. And does 3x have a like term? Again, it's a loner. And then negative 7 is a like term with what? Positive 8. Okay, gentlemen, please stop. Okay. 21C. Now, is there an addition sign there, or is that a multiplication? Okay, what's the math word we use to show what we're going to do here? Distribute. The distributive property. All right. Now, when you multiply coefficients. What's 5 times 7? 35. Now, when you're multiplying like bases, for example, the x cubed with the x squared, when you multiply like bases, you do what with the exponents? Add them. So what does that become? X to the fifth. And y has no like base, so it just stays y. Minus 5 times 4, 20. X and x squared, remember there's a little 1 there. What is that? X to the third. And y times y, there's little 1s on both of them. So what does that become? Y squared. Good job. Minus, what is 5x squared y times 1?
5x squared times y.
Good job. 5x squared y. And are there any like terms? If this is x to the fifth y, x cubed y squared, and x squared y. Any like terms? No, this is your final answer. All done? The little drawer underneath. Put that on my laptop. All right, guys, at least try the next one. Let me explain her. Yes.
Why don't you simplify it?
Okay, that's her question as well. So let me explain that.
Like exactly. These are lots of my negatives.
That would be to the third. All right, guys. Receive the same question from 2 different students. Why can't I simplify this any further? There are no more like terms. For example, these two. There's x's and y's, but do they have the same exponents? No, that's an x to the fifth y, and that's an x cubed y squared. The only way to add things together is if they have like exponents. For example, 5x squared y to the third plus 8x squared y to the third. Could I add those together? Yes. What is 5 plus 8? And the bases stay the same because I'm adding the coefficients. I'm not multiplying these, I'm adding. Do you see how that works? So with that being said, do you guys understand why there's no more simplifying? Why I'm unable to combine like terms? Yes or no? Okay, what's the math word here with that and that? Distribute. Remember, we multiply the coefficients. What's 3 times 4?
12. It's going to be 12c to the third.
Perfect. Can you continue? 12c to the third minus?
And then it'll be minus 15c.
Okay, let's stop right there. Do you guys see how he got 12c to the third minus 15c? And now this second piece is just the product. Tell me what you got because I did see it.
Okay, so I distributed the c with the 9, and then I did the negative 9c to the second.
Good.
Or-
Because there's a 1 there and there's a 1 there, so c times c is c squared, so minus 9c squared. Yes?
Don't you have to put them in like a certain order of like the powers?
Yes, and we'll do that when we combine like terms, so that you go in descending order. So the largest exponent comes first. Does this one have a like term? So 12c cubed. These are not like terms, but which one goes next in order, like Aaron said? Minus 9c squared minus 15c. Okay. I want to only do one of these, E or F. You choose. F. I do want to talk about E. What's the special name that we have for this?
Double distribution.
Double distribution, or the FOIL method, whatever method you call it, double distribution or the FOIL method. It's the same concept here, so I'd rather do the harder one. We don't call it double distribution, nor do we call it FOIL. This would be called what? Because I'm distributing 3 terms, this would be called triple distribution. Okay, so let me do the first piece first. What's 3x squared times 2x? 6x to the third. 3x squared times negative 5. X squared. All right. Any questions on that first part before I distribute the second piece? Okay, next one. What's the next term that I'm going to distribute? What's the next piece? Put your phones away, guys. What's the next thing I'm going to distribute? The x. What's x times 2x? Plus 2x squared, and x times negative 5? Negative 5x. Am I done? If it was double distribution, I'd be done, but what's the last thing to distribute? Negative 4. What's negative 4 times 2x? Negative 8x. And then negative 4 times negative 5 plus 20. And after we do all of that, what is the next step? I heard you whisper it. Combine like terms. Does 6x cubed have a like term? No, so it's going to stay 6x cubed. Negative 15x squared, does that one have a like term? Here? Anything else, or is that it? All right, so negative 15, add your coefficients. Negative 15 plus 2 is negative 13. And when you're adding like terms, do you change the exponents? No, so it's negative 13x to what power? It stays squared. You're not multiplying here, you're adding the coefficients. Okay, what else is like? The negative 5x and the negative 8x, what does that combine to? Negative 13x. And does the 20 have a like term, or is it by itself? So plus 20, and that there is your final beautiful answer.
This does put a smile on my face.
Good.
Seth, you should get that.
All right. G and H, I'll let you guys do on your own. Can anybody tell me first, is this correct? Distribute, so it's 3x squared plus 11 squared. No, we never distribute exponents when there's two or more terms inside. If it's a monomial, meaning one term, distribute away. If it's a binomial or trinomial, anything bigger than one, you do not distribute. What do we do? 3x plus 11 times what? And what do we call this? Double distribution. All right. Does anybody need to review double distribution, or was this enough of a review over here? All right. This one. When I rewrite it, first off, can I distribute the 2 right now the way it is? You cannot. You cannot because of that squared. Order of operation. Do I do exponents first or multiplication first? Exponents. So 2, and then I rewrite it 5y minus 1, 5y minus 1. Now at this point you have a choice. I personally like to save the 2 for the end and double distribute this. 5y, 5y, negative 1, negative 1. And after I do that and combine my like terms, what do I do with the 2? Distribute. That's my personal preference. Now some kids will distribute the 2 first, which is okay. If you do you distribute to both of these or just the first 5y minus 1? And that's why I don't do it at the beginning, because kids mess it up. We only do it to the first one. So if you think you might mess that up, save it and don't distribute till the end. I will do this double distribution with you. What's 5y times 5y? 25y squared. 5y times negative 1? Negative 5y. And then what's the next thing we're going to distribute? The negative 1 times 5y. Negative 5y. And negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1. I will combine like terms before I distribute the 2. And this is where I want to talk about the like terms. A lot of kids mess this up right here. What do you think a common mistake kids make with the negative 5y and negative 5y? They cancel out. You're right. Oh, opposites. Are they opposite? No. So what is negative 5y minus 5y? Negative 10y. You guys can finish this. 25y squared minus 10y plus 1, and then what's the very last thing you're going to do? Multiply everything by 2. Distribute your 2. Yes?
What does it mean when we distribute 2 with the 2 negative 5y's, wouldn't that make up negative 10y squared?
You can distribute first. It would be negative, no, not squared. You don't have hits. Usually do bar hot sauce. Bar is your X, and you look a certain place. But your ha is right. You do it with the top heavy, bottom heavy, same. Look online for the rest of this. Do you have a question on that? Okay, give me.
Did you ever ask if we could use?
Oh, I did. Let me finish recording and then I'll talk about it. Yes, yes you are. No, you're okay. All right, sorry. Guys, next piece, this is a double distribution. This one, are these multiplication signs or addition and subtraction signs? Okay, so am I doing any multiplying here? No. 4x squared minus 5x plus 6 plus 9x squared minus 2x, because I am allowed to drop the parentheses. And then what do I have to do on this next step here? Distribute the negative. So what does it become? Minus plus 3. And what's the next step called? Combine like terms. Go ahead and finish this off and then do some of these factoring ones here. I will tell you that this first one's a GCF. Yes, you do. B, C, D, and E, and F are all the X factor methods. So go ahead and do a few of those on your own right now, as quick as you can. Give me a second because he's been waiting patiently.
So your packet, you can ask for Mr. McDonald.
I negative. All right. You'll write that on.
Guys, it doesn't require this much talking to do your work.
We're collaborating with our partners.
Doesn't sound like collaboration.
Yeah, ops on the advance.
Well, it depends.
I know that
All right, guys, quiet down. All right, guys.
Wait, the lesson. No, you gotta wait.
You passed this to you, right? Will you pass it behind you? Thank you. Oh.
Every single time you pull last, I immediately hear Mickey Mouse.
You sound more like Mickey Mouse.
That's what's my name. Hey, baby. I didn't know you were.
All right.
You know what? She's focusing. Let's not distract her. No.
I get $2.
All right. Guys, letter K, do you have to do it? Yes. When you do your double distribution first, it ends up looking like a trinomial, and then it becomes a problem like this. It becomes a triple distribution, a trinomial times a binomial. So you do double distribution there, and whatever you get there, you're left with that times x minus 2. Make sense? All right, if you look back at old video notes, you will find it. Okay, what's your GCF here? What goes into 12 and 18? What's the largest number that goes into 12 and 18? 6? All right, x squared and x. Do you guys remember, do we take the larger one or the smaller one? Gentlemen in the back, stop the talking. Do I take out the x squared or the x? X. Thank you for paying attention. Do I take out y cubed or y? Y. And then 6 times what is 12? 2. X times what is x squared? X. Y times what is y cubed? Y squared. Minus 6 times what is 18?
3.
X times what is x? Do I need to put an x there? And y times what is y? Do I need to put a y there? Is it okay if I do? No, because what's x times x? And that's not x squared. What's y times y? And that's not y squared. So is it okay to put the xy there? No. Don't forget, you always check to see if there's still a GCF. Is there still a GCF here with 2x squared y, 2xy squared and 3? No. So this is your final answer. All right. I will do 2 of these. I'll do B and C and F. All right. Actually, I'm going to do C and F instead. It's up to you and how you do this, whether you list the factors and think of the numbers, or if you do the X factor. What does this negative tell me? My two signs are the same or different? Different. One's plus and one's minus. And for those of you that do the X factor, it's negative 15, positive 2. And you look for two numbers that multiply to negative 15 and add up to positive 2. Anybody have it? Yes. 3 and 5. Now, does 3 plus 5 add up to positive 2? Okay, so what does one of them have to be? Negative. Which one's negative so that, because either one being negative will multiply to a negative 15. But it has to be negative 3 so it adds up to a positive 2. So x plus 5 and x minus 3. Is it okay if you write x minus 3 and then the x plus 5? Does it matter the order? As long as the 3 is negative and the 5 is positive. Questions? Yes?
You have to do that smiley face stuff.
Oh, the checking piece. We've done these enough where I will leave that up to you. These ones, not as much, not a requirement as much as these ones, where the leading, well, that has a GCF. Like these, like this one here. This one here, you'd have to do it because your leading coefficient is what? 5, which means you can't use the X factor. That's the one where you do the smiley face. Yes. Okay. So letter F. I do it the same way because what's my leading coefficient here in the front that I can't see? 32 and 12. Look for two numbers that multiply to 32, positive 32.
4.
And does that add up to positive 12? The only difference is instead of just putting a plus 8, it's a plus 8 what? B. And then a, instead of a plus 4, it's a plus 4 b. Is a times a squared? And is 8b times 4b 32b squared? And if I do the inside outside, I do get 8ab and 4ab, and does that add up to the 12ab in the middle? It does. So this here is your answer. Yes?
Isn't there one above B and then there's B to the second top? So what is
Right here when you're adding?
B?
When you're adding like terms, you only add the coefficients. You do not add the exponents. You only add the exponents when you're multiplying. So 8ab plus 4ab is 12ab. No squares involved. All right. Flipping the page. Yes.
I think there are some pages that we did outside of the book in this unit, because I don't find the even out stuff anywhere in here.
Oh, like a handout. Probably was.
Started panicking.
Skip it for now, and then we'll look at it later.
Okay.
All right. Guys, I do want to do H, J. Let's do these four up here. Okay. What kind of factoring is here before I do my double bubble? Can anybody see what's going to come out of this first? Does anybody see the GCF that comes out first? 2. So I'm going to put it up here. 2 and then a squared minus, I'm sorry, g squared. G squared minus what? 2 times what is 36? 18. G plus 2 times what is 90? What's 45? And then you do your double bubble. Now I'm going to cover this too. What's my leading coefficient right here? What's in front of the G that I don't see? If it's a 1, you are allowed to do your X factor. Remember what I said about when this is a perfect squared, what the first guess you should make is? What should be the first guess? And I'm sorry, I messed up. It's not a perfect squared. But if it was a perfect squared, you'd make the perfect squared guess. All right, anybody have it? Yes. 3 and 15? Does everybody agree? What's the common mistake kids make here? They see 45, and what are the first two factors they think of? What are the first two factors you think of? 9 and 5. And they're like, oh, it doesn't work. It's not possible. There are other factors of 45 besides 9 and 5. And he just gave them to you right now, 15 and 3. Now, 3 times 15 is indeed positive 45, but does it add up to negative 18? Alik, you need to be paying attention. Put that away and get that off your desk, please. I'm going to ask again, is 3 plus 15 negative 18? So what does that mean about my two signs? They're both negative. Will that still multiply to a positive 45? Okay, so G minus 3 and G minus 5. Got it? All right, next one. This has a special name. Does anybody remember the special name? Good job. Difference of two squares. What I was going to say is I often called it dots, difference of two squares. Double bubble, and it was super easy to factor. Does anybody remember what it is? 6 and 6, x and x, and what are my signs?
Plus minus.
Plus and minus. And that is it. I'm going to jump down to letter J. I'm going to skip this one for now. Is this also difference of two squares?
Yes.
How can you tell? Is there a minus sign?
Yes.
That's the difference. Are 9x squared and 25 both perfect squares? Yes, yes they are.
Oh,
Right? 3x times 3x and 5 times 5. So what do I put in my parentheses? 3x and 5, 3x and 5, and what are my signs? Plus and minus, or minus plus. Does the order matter? No. All right, next one. Why am I not allowed to use the X factor method on this one? Because it's not what?
It's the leading that's not there.
Did everybody hear her? She whispered it. What was that?
We also did K after.
Yeah. Done? Okay. So I'm going to repeat the question. The question was, why are we not allowed to use the X factor? And Rebecca answered it. She said because the leading coefficient is not 1. It's only when it's 1 that I'm allowed to use this X factor method. All right. So this is where we do the double bubble, and we list the factors of 5 and the factors of 2, and we do all our guesses and checks, and then this is where we do that smiley face thing that Chauncey asked about earlier. 5 being prime is nice because the only possibility is 1y and 5y. Do we all agree?
I do agree.
All right. With the what are my two signs going to be? Same or different if it's ending with a positive? Same. And my neighbor tells me that they are both what? All right. The guessing part is it's either going to be 1, 2 or 2, 1. You have to decide so that when you do the inside outside you get 11. How many of you feel like you've done enough where you can kind of do it in your head? I'm hoping so. Can anybody tell me, is it 1, 2 or 2, 1? Can anybody tell me how you knew that without doing all the check work? Like, what did you see in your head? Yes. Actually, the ones can. It's like 2 2s or 3 and a 6 because 1 and 1 don't have a GCF. But I get what you're saying. Yes. Okay, so in your head you put the 2 here and saw that's going to give you 10 and that's going to give you 1 without even doing the check work. Okay, and then when you do it, this is where you would check 10y and 1y, and does that add up to 11y? All right, so this is indeed the answer.
We don't have to do K.
Don't have to do K. All right, this is a GCF, just a heads up. This is also a GCF. And this one is the X factor method. I'll put an X there. X factor, GCF, GCF. I definitely want to talk about 23 because that is one that kids struggle with on the final every year. Are we all listening? Okay. How many terms do I have here? 2. This is my first term. This is my second term. This is one whole term because it's being held together with multiplication. Do you see that? Yes? Now, this has 2 factors, and this has 2 factors in disguise because how many really are here? You don't have to write it this way. Please do not. I'm just trying to give you visuals. Can you see that there's 2 factors and 2 terms in each factor? Can you see that? Okay. What term do the 2 factors have in common? There's one term that the 2 factors have in common. And I may have said it incorrectly. 2 terms, and the 2 terms have the x plus 7 in common. Yes or no? That's the common factor. So you take the x plus 7 out, and then brackets, what's left over on the first one if I've taken that one out? What's left over? Minus, if I've taken that one out, what's left over? And then in advanced math, we would go further than this. We would never leave our answer like this. But for now, this is how we leave it. And we are good. Which one matches this? A, B, C, or D? We're good? All right, choose from the numbers below to place in the box to create an equation that is true for all values of x. Okay, you've seen these on the test before. What do we do here? I'm going to cover this, and I just simplify as if I would without any boxes there. How would you simplify this? I did this one just a few problems ago. What do I suggest? Not the only way, but what do I suggest? Distribute the 2 first or double distribution first? And then distribute the 2 at the end. Again, not the only way, it's just the way that I suggest. 2 parentheses, what's 4x times 3x? 4x times 5? 20x. 3 times 3x? And then 3 times 5? All right, I'm going to stop here. I'm going to cover this too. Do you have like terms? Actually, I'm going to go ahead and continue just to show you what it's going to look like. So 2 and then 12x squared plus what? Plus 29x plus 15. And what's the last thing to do? Distribute, multiply everything by 2. Can you guys tell me what that gives you? 24x squared plus 58x plus 30. Okay, now this middle piece is kind of like a double checker. They got 58x for their middle term. Is that what we got? So we're on the right track. This is x squared. What's the leading coefficient for the x squared? What goes in this blank right here? And the last is plus what? 30. And are both of those numbers in this bank of numbers? Yes. On the final, it'll have A is 6, B is yada, yada, yada. They'll put letters for you to pick so you can match the letters with the numbers. Questions? Yes.
22 or L.
22.
L.
This one here?
Yeah.
Before I do this one, what's tonight's 2 assignments? 12 and 13. That's finishing the packet up, guys. Remember that this is worth more than your homework, regular homework grade, so you do not want to slack off on this. All right, what did I say what you were supposed to do here first? GCF, which is 5. You guys, oh, it's more than 5. What is it? 5 what? 5A. And that leaves me with a squared plus 6a plus 9. Now I'm going to cover the 5a. If you choose to, for those of you that use the x factor, can you use it on this problem? You could, because the leading coefficient is 1. So if you choose to, again, you do not have to. How many of you do not even use this? You just do it in your head. That's perfectly fine. For those of you that like it, you would do it. 5a just stays tagged in the front. And then a and a. And let me know when you have the 2 numbers that multiply to positive 9 and add up to positive 6. Is it 3 and 3? Positive, positive? So what would I put in the parentheses? A and a plus 3. Just a heads up on the final. Yes, Chauncey?
You can put A plus 3 in parentheses and if you want to.
Perfect. That's exactly what I was going to say. On the final, it'll most likely be written this way. Should you know that these 2 things are the same?
Yes.
Now, am I allowed to do that for letter J? Write it as quantity squared.
No.
Why not?
Because those are plus and minus.
Minus plus, where this one is plus plus. The 2 signs have to be exactly the same. Questions?